Okay, today I want to talk about selfishness, being self-focused. God convicted me of this several times throughout this process of changing me, but about 3 years ago, he gave me a very good example of my selfishness. But I'm going to take you back to when I was a kid and explain to you how easy this sinful nature takes over. My uncle was always more of a friend to me than an uncle. When I was younger, he'd take me out to eat, wherever I wanted to go, buy me toys. I remember one time we were going somewhere that evening and I had a little bit of money with me, a few dollars. I was going to buy a couple Hot Wheels or something, and I lost it somehow on the way. I don't know if it fell in the seat or what, but we got to the store and I went to pay and I didn't have the money, and he pulled out a few dollars and paid for my toys. You know, I'd stay over at his house and we'd play Atari. You know, you probably don't know what that is, but video games. He'd take me to see the monster trucks and the Astrodome. I mean, we just did everything together. I remember one time, I was probably 6 years old. We'd gone riding ATVs and gotten all muddy and wet. And we went back to his house and he had one of those old gas heaters and he put my wet socks on top of it and the things caught on fire and he burned them up. He had to give me a pair of his socks. And I'd spend the night and, you know, probably watch movies I shouldn't have been watching that weren't allowed to be seen at home. So I just remember just spending a lot of time with him. And I mean, I loved him and I wanted to be like him. In 2003, I think, or 2004, he had to have a kidney transplant. And when he did, things changed somewhat because he couldn't do the things that he was once able to do. He no longer worked. He just had to be careful. I saw him, but not as much as I used to. And then a few years later, we had our son, and you get involved in your kids' lives. And I'm not gonna say we grew apart. We didn't, but we just did less together. When my son was about 5-6 years old, my uncle's health began to decline quite a bit. He was just getting sick. He was in the hospital all the time, and he lost a lot of weight. He just didn't look like himself. It was uncomfortable for me to see him in that condition, and I didn't like it. That wasn't the uncle I remember. But 3 years ago, I get a phone call, and it was, I don't know, almost 5 o'clock, I guess. I'd begun to prepare dinner for my family, and I get the phone call, and it's my uncle, and he's asking if I could bring him something to eat, And my first reaction was, I'm in the middle of doing something. I'm in the middle of cooking my family dinner, and I don't really have time to do this. I don't have time to drop what I'm doing to go get you something to eat. Obviously, I didn't say anything, and I said, what would you like? And he told me he wanted hamburger, fries, and told me where he wanted it from. And I said, okay, I'd bring it to him. About that time, it just starts pouring rain. Just absolutely lets go, and it's pouring. And again, I instantly think, man, not only do I have to stop what I'm doing, but I have to get out in this monsoon to go get this burger. And so I find myself being irritated. And I'm ashamed to say that now, but anyway, I get in the car and I'm driving, and I'm almost to the restaurant, and God convicts me and says, look, Jason, this is your uncle who used to take you to Taco Bell and take you to arcades and tractor pulls and all these things for you. You know better, he can't get his own food, he can't get out of his chair, and he needs something to eat, and he's asking you to convict me. And of course, I repented over that and thought how ridiculous. So I get the burger, take it to his house, I give it to him, and he thanks me, and I said, hey, I gotta go, I gotta finish cooking dinner, because my wife's about to be home and all that. And he's like, okay, no problem, thank you for the food. And I left, drove back home, and didn't think anything about it. Anyway, I guess it was 11 or 12, I can't remember the time, but I know I never leave my phone on. It's always on vibrate, but for some reason, my phone was on, and I get a text from my cousin saying we're at the hospital, and Uncle Rick fell and hit his head, and it doesn't look good. And so I said, well, do I need to come down there? And she said, no. And I said, well, I'm coming. I'm going to come down there. As I was driving down there, I was praying that, whatever I was about to come into, just give me peace. And I was thanking God for, stepping in earlier, because had I, not gone and gotten him his food, his last meal, basically, I'd had to live with that, and that would have been tough, So anyway, I get there, and he's gone. God revealed how selfish I am. We are selfish people. And I'm thinking to myself, how can I be so selfish to think for a split second, you're inconveniencing me? I don't have time for this. I'm in the middle of something. Or it's raining. It was totally self-focused. It was totally me thinking about me and my situation. It wasn't about him and serving him. We're called to have a servant's heart and to serve. And he was a family member. He was, my favorite family member growing up, as I used to think in my mind, And it just goes to show you how quick we are to react and how we focus on ourselves. But if you're struggling with selfishness, then go to him over it. Go to him over it, because we are not to be selfish. We are to be selfless, not only with our family, but with strangers, giving of our time and our money. So, if this spoke to you, please subscribe, because I do have more content coming. And if you know anyone who's struggling with this, please forward it to them. Maybe it'll speak to them. And I thank you again for watching.